Today's video is going to be fairly long. This is a long ride I took on my Xootr. It's about 12 miles in length. I'm going to show you how I get inside of buildings and how I roll around inside and outside. Obviously, this machine is not as powerful as the electric bike I built and described in my book, but I prefer to use it partly in cold weather and also for local errands where I have to get inside of buildings, and frankly I don't even care to fold it. In addition, I want to comment on a few issues that came up in the comments of several previous videos. People have been asking me about the bags I use. I'm going to put a link below. These are two separate kinds of bags. The big ones are made of cotton. They are very light, very easy to carry. They are very compact, but they can carry a lot. And I have that small black handlebar bag, which is really branded for the Brompton, but I use it on my scooter. What it does is, that's where I always have that bag with me. I don't always carry the big ones, but this little black bag I always carry, and it can hold little things like a cell phone, little electronics, tissues and things like that. In fact, I can roll up a couple of those big bags and put it into the tiny black bag, and that's a very useful thing to have. I have also seen some questions about why am I worried about constructing a long-range version of my current Brompton bike instead of just getting a mini bike. A mini bike is a nice thing to have, and living 70 miles north of Manhattan, that could certainly bring me down to the city a lot faster than a bike. But I honestly prefer to go to the city on a train because it's always good no matter how cold or rainy it is outside. And there are also so many expenses and headaches that would come with an extra vehicle. If you get a mini bike, you would not be able to get onto the Greenway. You could not go to many places where you can go with an e-bike. For example, if you go up to the top of the Mohonk Mountain, which is probably the most beautiful spot in this area, they're not going to let you go up there with a motorized vehicle. But with an e-bike, it's treated just like any other bicycle. So there are many advantages to have with a long-range e-bike as opposed to something that's legally classified as a motorized vehicle. Same thing with most of the bridges and tunnels, access to Manhattan, and so on. Although it is true that mini bikes, for example, are allowed onto the Staten Island ferry, for example. So I could ride a mini bike from the mid-Hudson down onto Staten Island on the main roads and then get on the ferry for free and get to Manhattan. So there is some advantage to it, especially compared to a full-sized bike or even a scooter. Like a scooter is obviously, even a small-bodied Vespa is probably not going to be allowed on the ferry because it obviously looks like, people know what it is. A small mini bike, people think it's some electric, so they don't even pay attention. But then you have to consider that mini bikes cannot be brought inside an apartment, or not as easily as an e-bike. If I have even a generator, I can easily bring that upstairs. The whole thing weighs 25-30 pounds. So I can safely keep everything indoors, which was the whole point about getting something small wheel, because you can always keep it indoors. It's always safe. It's with you all the time. It's not exposed to the weather. If the weather is rough, I'm not even going to use it outside. And that's why you can go all out. You can buy a very expensive small wheel bike, which is not so easy to do with a full-sized bike that you might want to leave on the street. Now the mini bike is also, if you're going to leave it on the street, it weighs about 200 pounds. So it's not so easy to lift it, but people can still steal it, especially professional thieves that come with the pickup truck and the crane on it. They can actually lift it off the street and they can take it. So there are all these headaches. And the parking, people running over your mini bike. You can rent a parking spot, but it's so tiny. Some of the people, especially the rough types driving pickup trucks, would just drive right over it. And if you want to fully protect it, you could do that. You could rent a storage place, but that's going to cost minimum $1,500 a year to have, and I would have to walk a half an hour to even get to the storage place. So there are many disadvantages to switching to a fully legal, street legal mini bike that has a license plate on it, or any other bike. Frankly, if you were to get something like that, you might be better off with a full-sized motorcycle. It's heavier, it has more of a presence. The mini bike is just not that common in America, unfortunately. Everything is big. You are living in the land of big, so there are many problems with it, let's put it that way. If you live in the middle of Manhattan, I can see you putting it into a storage place if they allow it. I'm not sure if it's even allowed because there is gasoline inside, so people are going to be scared that it's going to burn down the building or explode. So even there, it's not the easiest, but at least you have a point. An e-bike is just so much easier. It has access to all of the public roads except the highways. But even on the highways, if it has a shoulder, you are legal to get on the shoulder. You don't have to insure it. You don't have to register it. Storage, you don't have to store it either because you can just keep it inside your apartment. So there are huge advantages, not to mention that it's cheaper. Even if you bought a generator for $1,000, that's still a fraction of the cost of the mini bike. So just saying about this question. This is one of the historic neighborhoods of Poughkeepsie. I think it is quite charming. And the reason I ride away from Main Street is because Main Street ends up in a slum and it's just so depressing. Central Poughkeepsie is largely depressing, and I don't even like to go there, but it's Sunday and my favorite sandwich place is not open. So since I'm craving bread, I decided to go to TJ's Pizza and get an eggplant parmesan there. And as it turns out, I kind of miscalculated myself and ended up going too far down on this back road. The sidewalks have a lot of broken surfaces that is not safe, so I'm typically on the road as much as possible, and I'm riding against traffic so I can clearly see if somebody is making a move, if there's an oncoming traffic. I can even see through the windshield of many cars. I can see if somebody's trying to get out or if they are going to start the car, which is not so easy to do on the other lane. And if there's too much oncoming traffic, then I just get onto the sidewalk. Something I was thinking about the generator was the real bottleneck is the battery and the charger to the battery. What if I just eliminated that part altogether and ran the electricity straight from the generator into the controller, basically? What this would do, obviously, if the generator cannot be turned down to a lower level, then it's going to generate 1,000 watts. I don't need 1,000 watts, and that means that a lot of the energy would be lost, because when I'm switching down to 200 or 300 watts, then all the extra power that's generated will just be lost. But this would be still a very simple solution, and it would eliminate all of the bottlenecks. Maybe you would get 80 miles to the gallon, or maybe not even that. But still, you could ride as far as you wanted to, and you would have ample power. Like, I could ride all the way up to the top of the mountain at full speed because of all the energy I would have. Now, I don't know how this would work because I have never tried it, but I guess it would work because you can run any kind of electricity from any source into the controller. I don't think it has to be a battery. Maybe you have to down regulate the voltage from 110, that's the outgoing voltage, maybe down regulate it to 48. That can be done with a very small box, but that would do the job. As far as the controller is concerned, it would probably interpret or recognize the energy just like it's coming from a battery. And here I approach a great downhill. Unfortunately, there is a traffic light, so I almost always have to hit the brake and slow down because of that intersection. Also, there is always oncoming traffic, which I wish I didn't have to deal with. And of course, I still have the original T-bar for the Xootr, which is not wide enough to feel secure with, because the wheels are so tiny and it's so easy to get stuck in an opening or a pothole or hitting a twig when riding down. I just don't have the confidence to really let go, so I keep on hitting the brake until I get to the bottom of the downhill. But other than that, this would be a great downhill to enjoy, and the road surface is really not bad here. I am going to work on creating a new T-bar for the Xootr, which hopefully I should be able to bring to market, so anybody who owns the scooter should have the opportunity to upgrade, and a wider handlebar should give you a lot more security as you're gliding down, so you can allow yourself to accelerate to a faster speed, and that would result in a greater speed average. Instead of averaging 5-6 miles an hour, maybe you could average 10. That would be the equivalent of a bike, actually. I typically average 10 when I ride around with or without electricity. I could do more, obviously. You could go faster on a bike, but I just want to preserve energy when I do long range riding, like 40 or 50 miles in one day. This is a place where the road is getting rough. There is not much traffic, but the road surface is just so bad I end up getting over to the right lane. And of course you should be there legally speaking, but you would have to have a pretty good rear view mirror to see traffic behind you. I do have a wrist mirror which is always in the black bag, but I forgot to put it on and was too lazy during the ride to put it on my wrist anyway. Here I end up turning back toward Main Street, and this is the end of the ugly, depressing area. But once I get there, I discovered that I overshot my destination because TJ's is right in the middle of the slum area, so I shouldn't have come this way. Also, riding against traffic is just not working because there is so much oncoming traffic, it's not funny. So I end up on the right side and eventually on the sidewalk because there is so much traffic, and you can see that the road surface is really bad. So this is a depressing part of Poughkeepsie that I'm probably not even going to come back to, especially after my time in some of the European places, even in the Far East, even in Bangkok. There were many problems with the infrastructure in Bangkok and the corruption and all that, but overall the atmosphere is just much more optimistic and there are so much luxuries, it's not even funny. Here I finally reach Main Street and I have to turn back. I have to make a left turn and ride back toward downtown because I went so far out. And you can just see how depressing this downtown Poughkeepsie part is. I mean, it's not downtown, it's central Poughkeepsie. Everywhere it's bad infrastructure, the roads are broken up. And I think this is all over the US, but probably New York more so than elsewhere, but also New Jersey looks awful. So many industrial places. Nevertheless, there are some of these really flat, smooth areas that I really enjoy scooting on. But I'm probably not going to come back this way. Now, another question that came up is, why use a generator instead of a small engine? The small engines that I've already shown in my video are really too bulky and too heavy to in any way directly connect to either of the wheels or the crank of a Brompton. There are these teeny tiny motors that you could put on, and they are very powerful. They are very light, cost nothing. You can get them on Amazon for nothing, and you can just put them directly on the bike. In this area, I actually do see some poor people on those, but it's horrendously noisy. You can hear them from far away because those are two-stroke engines. If somebody made a bike gasoline engine that was four-stroke and really quiet, I would definitely pay attention, but I just haven't seen any. I finally reach TJ's and end up riding in on the Xootr. I don't even bother folding it. I just lean it against the table. And I end up getting this Eggplant Parmigiana hot sub, which was mediocre at best. I don't think I'm gonna come back to TJ either. It's okay, but it's actually quite depressing as well. Not as good as my favorite sandwich place, which is only a few steps away from home, but it is always closed on Sunday. And I'm finally getting out after having the sandwich and heading towards Adams Farms, which is a really nice upscale gourmet grocery place in Arlington. Arlington is in East Poughkeepsie, and some of it is industrial, but a lot of it is actually upper middle class. So it's actually quite nice. The downtown part of Poughkeepsie on the west, right on the Hudson, is really nice where I live, and this Arlington place on the east is really nice. But in between, you just have to get through this miserable area unless you want to take the Greenway, which is probably what I'm going to be doing from now on. It adds 50% to the distance, unfortunately. This is an 18th century house which was built for a minister of the Church of England just a few years before the outbreak of the War of Independence. There are several historic spots in Poughkeepsie like this, but they are in bad shape. There is garbage everywhere. They are not kept up the way they should be. That's unfortunate. Kingston would be a better place. Kingston is where the former U.S. Congress place is located, because Kingston used to be the capital for a short time. Then I believe the British took it over and burnt it down, or partially burnt it down. But today it's a really nice upscale location and everything is kept in good shape. This place is Arlington. This is the good area, or the beginning of a better area in Poughkeepsie. But on Main Street, it is strictly industrial with a lot of traffic. This would be a pretty good downhill, but unfortunately the sidewalk is all broken up. If I was the mayor, we would replace all of the sidewalks everywhere in town. Here I am approaching a big slope. It's too steep to scoot onto it upwards, so I just walk the scooter. But on the way back, it would be a really nice place to scoot, but there's just so much traffic, and my handlebar, as narrow as it is on a stock, mostly stock Xootr, I hit the brake the whole time. You'll see when I come back, because if I fell down with all these cars coming up from behind, I would probably be dead. I walked the scooter up to the top of the hill, and this is a much nicer, much cleaner area, and I'm not far from Adam's Farms. This is a chain store. They have other locations as well, and it's pretty nice, especially for a suburban place. I can never go in without spending a lot of money because they just have so many things. They have all kinds of European chocolates and everything. What they don't have is beer, which is weird. There are many places in Poughkeepsie where there should be beer, but there isn't. And what I heard was that the license is really difficult to get. You have to apply and then get on a wait list. It's like a puritanical thing of trying to keep people from drinking beer, like as if that made any difference. And of course, this is hardcore suburbia. Everybody has an SUV or a crossover, and they use that to do everything. They go everywhere with it, and they get stuck at these intersections. They wait for 10 minutes at a time to move on, if not 15. And it's also pretty dangerous because as you cross the lane, there is oncoming traffic. So you really have to be careful. Like you see this guy, he just appeared out of nowhere. And the parking lots are really dangerous as well. There is no bike parking, there are no bike lanes, and people are just darting in and out of places with their cars. Although most people are actually quite nice, they do slow down or whatever if they see you, but a lot of the times they just don't see you. It's hard to even walk here. Forget about scooting. Even if you just push your cart in and out, you could be easily run over by somebody. And now you see the magic of the kick scooter. I can just go right into the store. I don't have to fold anything. There are no oily chains to worry about. I haven't folded my scooter since I took it out of storage and unfolded it, really. I love this place. Otherwise, I would not suffer to go through that miserable slum. But once you're here, they have so many things. They have a lot of organic things and imported stuff. There's also all these plants and flowers, even agricultural plants. Like if you want to grow corn, you could buy the seeds or whatever. You could buy the soil. The only thing they don't know how to do is to bake. The baker is garbage. I am very polite these days, but I used to actually scoot around and kick the scooter. And these people are so civilized, I've never been yelled at by anybody. I tried to do the same thing in one of the slum market and one of the Spanish speaking places. And immediately, even though there was nobody around, some worker jumped at me right away. It's just so different. This is a very civilized and nice place. They have tons of all kinds of cheeses and salamis that are imported. Pasta from Italy. They really have everything.
Excuse me, do you have mascarpone cheese? You don't know. Okay, I'll look around.
Should be something like cheese shop if you haven't tried that. Like there's a cheese shop like over that.
Yeah, I seen it. No, this is soft cheese.
They have high quality meals. I mean meats, even elk and things like that. Free range, grass fed, really good quality meats. But this is Lent, and I am strictly observing it. I allow a little bit of some cream or butter or yogurt, but beyond that, no eggs and absolutely no animal products for the period of Lent, which is going to go on into mid-April. So we still have 3 weeks left.
You hear her? That's what you eat? Yeah, figured, right? Yeah.
You don't carry much. Thank you.
I am finally done and outside. I ended up spending so much money I had to use the credit card, which happens all the time. And on the way back, I'm taking a much nicer route. This is going to be the Greenway, a part of the Empire Trail, or the Empire Rail Trail, which really comes up all the way to, I think it goes to Canada from New York. That's how long it is. Or that's how long it was. I mean, it used to be a railway. Right now it's a greenway, and it goes through areas where I might not have the courage to go, because I've been all the way up to Canada in my car, and at night I have encountered cougars, huge wolves like up to your waistline. I would not dare to be outside on a bicycle with this, although it was always after dark when I saw this. But there is wildlife there, and I'm not so sure I want to go up there with a bicycle. And I am on the great downhill, the one I had to walk on the way up here. On the way down, I could go really fast if I had a wider handlebar, and if I wasn't as afraid as I am. But there is a lot of traffic. You don't want to fall off at this place. They could run you right over. So it's not just the fear that you could break a bone, but you could actually get killed. But the road surface is good. I mean, on a bicycle, this is ideal. I could go up to do 30 miles an hour on my bike on this downhill. But I'm hitting the brake the whole way down with the Xootr. But even this way, I might be doing 12 miles an hour, maybe a little more. It's really not bad. I do cover the distance very easily. this is the connection to the Greenway, the Empire Rail Trail. And as you'll see, the road surface is really good. In fact, I have done much of it, not the full length of it, but I have done a lot of it, all the way to the bottom of the Bronx where it becomes Manhattan. And most of it is really quite nice. It's quite rideable. Funny how it's better maintained than the roads themselves, but I guess it's a lot cheaper to have built it and to maintain it. Bikes and scooters are much lighter than cars, so they don't put as much pressure onto infrastructure. And you'll see that it looks like it's on a kind of an elevation, that everywhere on the left and the right it's almost always a valley. But I think that's because they have been digging out the land everywhere around it. They are destroying everything, like cutting out the trees, putting in infrastructure, buildings, storage places, a bunch of machinery, fleets of cars, garbage all over the place. Some of it is nice. I mean, the path itself is pretty nice, but most of what's around it, the industrial developments, are awful. And I don't think the government of Dutchess County gives a damn. The way they are cutting out trees and the pace at which they are building these lousy new condominiums, they have these low ceilings and are made of cheap materials. They look like the apartment of the Hobbit in the Lord of the Rings, really. There's hardly any internal height, and everything is made out of these cheap panels, these sheetrock panels and fake brick on the outside. I wonder who would spend $1 million to get an apartment like that. I certainly would not. In any case, it's all smooth sailing from this point on. It's kind of surprising that on a Sunday afternoon there aren't more people. The temperature was about 47 degrees. It wasn't bad. But I was thinking if I had a generator attached, it would be just so noisy. Maybe if you used a generator and ran wires directly from it into the controller, you could have a powerful setup and you could build a cabinet around the generator that would significantly reduce the noise of it. I wonder how that would work. But on the other hand, I don't necessarily want to ride 200 miles in one afternoon. So I really may not need the distance. So my first upgrade to the Brompton is going to be a second battery. And this is going to be called, instead of the Brompton Interceptor, that was the first version, the second one is going to be called the Brompton Disruptor. Both of these terms coming from military aviation terminology. Most countries have a class of jet fighters called the Interceptor. They use them to protect airspace. And I believe the new US F-47 is called the Disruptor, which is a pretty good name. Disruptor. My second generation Brompton is going to be almost as fast as the first one. Maybe a tiny bit lower on the upper end of the gears, but on the lower end I really want to improve it a lot, because uphills I lose a lot of battery power. And the cause of this is, it's not just how much energy you have in your batteries or generator or whatever you have, but also how efficiently you use that. If you don't have enough low gears when you go on steep uphills, you're going to lose a lot of energy, because what you lack, what you're not able to pull because you don't have the low gears, you are going to pull from the battery. And so I drain my batteries a lot faster than I should when I go uphill. In any case, you can watch the rest of the video. It goes on for a few more minutes. This has been a ride of about 12 miles, and I really enjoyed it, except for that I had to go into the bed area. But it's a really enjoyable thing to have. I do enjoy riding my bike longer distances, but if I'm just shopping or doing errands locally, I would much rather take the Xootr. You could also get an electric scooter, and if you go to my shopping page below, I do recommend some of them. But there is an advantage to having a human-powered machine because all the exercise you are getting, and also my Xootr is just incredibly light. It's an 11-pound object, so it is something I enjoy having in addition to an electric and a powerful electric folding bike. If I didn't have the folding bike, maybe I would buy an electric scooter as well, who knows. But you still need something to do exercise on. I mean, you're not getting any exercise on an electric scooter. And I'm getting plenty of exercise both on the bike as well as the scooter. Typically more body heat on the scooter, possibly more exercise as well. So during winter time, from after Thanksgiving until like late March, I actually prefer the scooter to the bike.
I'll be back.